When everything is marketing and marketing is everything, taglines and trends are just the tip of the proverbial iceberg. On the M Word, we're talking marketing and mission and the pursuit of what's personal. I'm your host, Jennifer Mulchandani, and you are listening to the M Word podcast presented by Arlington Strategy.
On today's episode, I'm talking with Bianca Aiono, an alignment guide and business alchemist who helps established female business owners fall in love with what they do to double their revenue and halve their workload. Bianca shares how she built a very lucrative brick and mortar business and how burnout led her in an entirely different direction. I hope you enjoy this soulful conversation. Bianca, welcome to the M Word podcast. I think it's worth noting that you woke up well before 6 a.m. your local time to join us for this because you are joining us from Australia. Is that correct?
Sure am. That's right.
Well, I'm very honored that you did that, and I'm very excited for this conversation today. And I'm excited to bring to our listeners what it is you do, because I think you have put out into this world a business that is not your everyday business coach. We all hear from sales folks and business coaches who tell you they've got the secret trick to life. And yours comes through at a very emotional level, emotional IQ kind of way of reaching women. And I really look forward to hearing your story. But you shared with me you started pre-business you have now. You were an elite athlete. You were working in, sort of the fitness industry. You became or earned the badge of mother with triplets, and then another one. And then you have created a proprietary sales modality that you call soulful scaling. So can you start by just giving us a peek into your journey and how soulful scaling came to be?
Sure. Thank you so much. So I guess it's funny because I started off my journey in selling and I got fired from my first 3 jobs. And it was selling bread, selling muffins, and selling clothes. And I would come in and, I've represented Australia in 6 different sports. So it's not that I wasn't dedicated. It's not that I wasn't smart, but it just like made my soul wither, the way that people would teach us how to sell. And then my last boss that fired me said, hey, listen, you are always at the gym. You need to go get a job at the gym. And when I moved into becoming a personal trainer, I was like, oh my gosh, I can do these things that I've always grown up in the backyard doing, and people give me money for it. I can't believe it. And that's when I really started learning about sales. And I was really fascinated with this way of why people would say yes to themselves when they really needed it or wanted it, and then why people would sabotage. So my love for selling and psychology and, people saying yes to a better version of themselves happened from when I was 20. And then all through that period of time, being a wellness expert, learning selling, learning high ticket selling, applying that in different businesses, what I kind of came to discover over time was that a lot of times people who are teaching us how to sell and teaching us how to grow our business, if you peered behind the veil of behind the scenes of their lives, there's a lot of things that I wouldn't replicate. A lot of things about how they would relate to their significant other, how they would spend time with their family, how even just their health, or the way that they sold, the way that they grew their business created a lot of cost in their life. So even though on the front end, it might be like, hey, do this, get on 100 calls a day and stay on the phone until there's blood coming out of your ears, or, do it this way. And then you peel behind the scenes as a wellness expert. And I was like, there's a whole bunch of things that I can see exactly the way that the person's business methodology was affecting their cellular health, their ability to live a peaceful, harmonious life. And so when I had my triplets, I really shifted. I highly do not recommend having 3 babies at once. But
you only have 2 arms, right?
And so I definitely, kind of reached a capacity there. And a friend reached out and said, "Hey, do you want to come and do sales for me?" And so I spent maybe a good 18 months breastfeeding triplets. Whilst also doing sales consulting. And I really found that there was this higher level organization to, we hit some, I closed 1.2 million in about 18 months at about an 83% close ratio for my different clients. And again, I sort of still saw this fallout effect and this higher order of looking at business as an entity, as an overall entity, and looking at the health of the CEO and the health of the sales system and how people, how it really affects the clients. And when you have all these pieces in alignment, when you have all this level of congruence, it's like a spinning top. It's got this precision to it, a perpetual motion to it. And so I really started moving into this sales consulting and added, we bought a training modality in RP, and it's turned into, like a shamanic sales healing process, because I really am helping heal people, healing their limiting beliefs, their mindset, their blocks, how they relate to themselves, how they view themselves. And when you shift that, it shifts your relationship to selling. It shifts how you grow your business. And I just have been seeing all these amazing results for people, especially women who are uncapping the growth of their business, because now it's coming from this place of inner authority, and the money that they create doesn't come at a cost. The success that they are building doesn't trap them into obligation or into this sort of version of success that they want to escape from. And so then it turns into like, you just want to sell every day. It's like the thing that you can't shut up talking about. So it's really, really exciting to see this like runaway momentum that happens driven by your own joy.
Well, I want to pull back a little bit because it felt relatable talking about this idea of like, there's all different kinds of methodologies to grow. But they're not, they all have different or may have different sort of unintended consequences unrelated to the business. It's like the people behind the business. So how does your approach, how do you mitigate sort of all the negativity associated with like putting in all the long hours for scaling under one method? Is your approach, is it a different level of work involved, or is it how do you take away the negative consequences of the idea of like, working yourself to the grindstone?
I guess this is in the place of when we think about like a lot of times what we're creating, what we're trying to create, people look externally at the effects of it, and then they try to go, how do I do the things to get that result? How do I do, like, look at that over there. There's a 7-figure business, or there's a 50K a month business working 25 hours. What do I do? What do I have to do in order to create that? And a likely sort of analogy is it would happen in my fitness industry. People would see my clients lose a lot of weight and they go, "What are you doing? I've got to do what you are doing." And what you're missing out there is actually at the core of the being was an identity shift, who that person was being, how they related to themselves and how they were feeling affected the choices that they made and they did. And then that had the greatest effect on the results that they experienced. So the be, do, have principle. So when you start shifting in a correlation at the core of who you are, tapping into those unique pieces, a lot of times when you are doing that hustle and grind, you've actually abdicated this part that makes you unique and makes you different. And you're thinking that I've got to sacrifice, I've got to work really hard, I've got to do these things that other external authorities are telling me are the things I need to do in order so I can have a happy, healthy, harmonious, successful life. And that's the part where we abdicate our own throne of our own inner knowing, our body's innate wisdom, our instinct, our intuition. And that's where it goes awry, because, the universe doesn't bring you what you want, it brings you who you are. We're reflecting back what we are creating. So when I built my PT business, I was following a lot of business in the box systems, a lot of things that were really, helped my mentors create 650 studios. I was like, I'll make 650 studios. But as I built it up, I built this business that was turning over, over 300K, and I was working 80 hours a week. I was doing all the things, but it was really, I hated it. I hated it. I hated my business.
Did you feel successful when you were in it though, in the deep part of the revenue and the volume?
I just felt this enormous amount of pressure. I felt like I had shifted from all the things that I was really inherently good at, which was working with people and being there on the ground level. And now my staff were. And so now I was doing all this staff management and being on the phone to Fair Work Australia and managing and negotiating wages. But my unique part of, just helping people create their fitness goals and their health goals, my staff got all that. They were implementing that system. They got all those rewards. So what I'd created in that place was from a lot of my own, like, not enoughness, my own scarcity, my own belief that other people knew better than I did. So I built this system that was like, it required a lot of anxiety to build it. It required a lot of sleepless nights to keep up with it, to keep all the things juggling. It was like this hungry beast that eventually I just had to put myself first and run down. I couldn't go any further. So the part that I really do is from that experience of burning out, I was like, all the things that require me to abdicate that inner knowing, or that require me to do this thing now so that one day you might be happy in the future. It was like a limb that I cut off, and I no longer had access to that because I knew that it would never create the result that I actually wanted it to create. It would only ever create the being state, the feeling state that I was in. So the shift that I do in my work now is helping you shift from listening to external authorities to listening to your own inner authority.
Mm-hmm. So I'm curious, how do you though, if your inner authority needs, recuperation and sort of hands on the ground, like what you're talking about, sort of delivering the thing that made you start your business the first place and being connected. How do you scale something? Because traditional business books tell us, scaling means don't work in your business, work on your business. And I think what I'm hearing from you is that that's a false narrative, that, it doesn't, you don't have to give up the why that you're in it is critical to your success, not in the way of your success.
Yeah, look, and I think it's really made me look at a lot of modern or even Western culture, or the way that we've been taught that inner peace isn't important in the face of growing success, in the face of chasing money. And yes, I think it's very important to be able to work on your business if that's your genius zone. So I work on 3 factors: your own personal magnetism. So that's your personal power. Then your effortless genius zone, and how can you spend as much time in that place? And you have that also quadrant of leveraging your leadership. So a lot of times leveraging your leadership, creating systems, building the team, getting the support, it's often not your genius zone, but you're motivated to do it so you can spend more time in your genius. So yes, it's important, but this part of, so many times I've helped people create huge, massive businesses, and they weren't actually happy at the end of it. They thought that once I scale, once I get this thing, then I'll finally be happy. And actually what happens is they get to the top and they go, oh, this is the farce. This is the fast that me giving up those parts of myself along the way, giving up that quality family time or that freedom or the spaciousness, all those things that I sacrificed along the way, thinking that one day it would all come good on that promise. That's the part that you get to the top of the mountain, you go, oh my gosh, I've lost a part of myself. I can't find it. I've got to go back down to the bottom of the mountain and pick out these little pieces that I've left behind. And it's not that you can't have both. It's that true success, true wealth doesn't require you to sacrifice your needs, your joy along the way.
So as part of the work then with your clients, like, do you start with defining what is success? Because so often success is just a number, right? And that's even if you've thought about writing down a goal, which that's a whole other conversation. But, so is the success here getting with your work, getting people away from numbers as the driving, or can you be in pursuit of wealth as a business owner or an entrepreneur and still find a more balanced sort of soulful peace?
Yeah, it's a great question. And what's really cool is that it's definitely not an either or, but it's actually I talk a lot about this vision that you have for your life, looking at what true wealth really means to you in all those different areas, in your environment, in your spiritual wealth, what's physical wealth to you, what is financial wealth to you. And when you have that vision, what I find is there is a vitality that courses through your body. It's life force, it's life energy when you're in alignment with who you really are and who you've come to serve. We all have this soul mission that remains unfulfilled if we personally don't go out there and step up and feel really connected and live a life of purpose. It's still there waiting for us to step in. But when we have that alignment, there's a beautiful momentum that comes through us that creates inspired action. So that inspired action, tells you when that's enough and it's time to rest. And it tells you when to take swift action. But there's also serendipitous moments that happen that can, your brain could never have conceived of, results that happen that you go, wow, I could never have thought that. I could never have strategized or created logic for that to happen. That just dropped in. So when you have that alignment pieces, the exciting opportunities, the joint venture opportunities, alliances, cash influxes, those things happen when you have that alignment. The next piece is to have congruence. So it's a horizontal alignment. And this is making sure that what you're promising, what you're delivering, how you've priced things, how you're packaging it, and how you're delivering in those places is that you're really monetizing your effortless genius in a sacred and reverent way. So I work with a lot of service providers and coaches. But even when you're a leader of your business, recognizing that who you are as a person creates a transformation. It's like, even just how you show up to your business, Jennifer, like that's the thing that woke me up early because I'm like, I love your connection, your embodiment to your mission and the way that you relate to just building this podcast. Absolutely, it gets me up. I'm like, this is a lady who walks her talk. And so there's a transformation that happens, an effect that happens, like the oxygen that sparks the fire and creates this momentum in a business that becomes uncontrollable, has perpetuity, creates results outside of the energy and the attention that you're exchanging in the moment. I find that the axes of these two, vertical alignment, horizontal alignment, creates integrity. Integrity, not just in a moral or ethical way, but structurally, it creates structure in your business. It's not building success that you want to run away from because this is your life. This is you living the embodiment of your values. And as like this spinning top, it creates a harmony, a flow where, you're creating a life that you don't need to run away from, and you just are excited to turn up at 6 o'clock and have a great, deep conversation about your purpose.
So I love everything, how you've just framed that. But I'm going to ask, and this might be considered really personal, but you clearly have embodied what you're helping others to achieve, right? The alignment and your peaceful purpose, and it's showing up in your business. But where do you hit the rough spots? Like, is this like a permanent snow remover, or is you're human, right? You're an emotional being. So like, what is still hard for you, or what has been hard, even though you've found this new framework for working through growing your business?
Well, I think, there's hard things all the time, every day. So the emotional clearing method that I use helps me identify stuck emotions. And there's hard parts like personal life, right? Like I have 5-year-old triplets that, I'm probably going to have to get one, looking at a diagnosis for some behavioral problems. There are things in our lives that challenge us every single day. There are, part of this part is also looking at those blocks in all the ways in which women say that or believe that we don't deserve those things. We don't deserve that success, in all the ways in which we feel judged, in all the ways in which I can't force it to happen faster than the divine timing of how it's showing up. There'd be great things. It'd be great if I manifested $1 million contract tomorrow, then everything would be easier. Maybe not. In all these ways, I still find that this harmony, this flow, it's a state that takes time to get into for me every day. Sometimes it only takes me 20 minutes using this process. Sometimes it takes me, 3 hours and I've got to go and find, but I have lost the naivety that I can force through those things. Because if I force through that emotional rough points when, I'm feeling like really anxious, or I'm coming from a place of like my inner monologue is telling me, who knows what it is that likes to go on there, in all the different ways, just even the hormonal shifts that happen through the month. I just don't have the naivety that I can force my way through that and get the result that I want on the other side. So it's really every day I have to find those places to get back into flow. But the way that I do business doesn't create more harm, damage. I am really strict on the clients that I take on. I'm really quite ruthless on how I enroll people, to make sure that I can really deliver incredible outcomes. I can be the most skillful consultant in the world, but if I'm putting myself in front of the wrong person who can't take value of my skills, or there's something, off about the relationship where, I see a lot of times people use a bit of convincing or persuading in the sales conversation, and they come on the other side and now the client's like, okay, keep proving yourself to me, keep making me, like I'm going to make you do the work for me. In all those ways, those are the things that I'm uncompromising on. But that's also why the results of my clients, are really awe-inspiring and amazing, because it's a very niche cross-section of who I can help, and the results that I can get for them.
So for you, like, how many clients are you able to support at one time? It sounds like you're not just giving your time. Like, as an individual, as an individual coach, we talk about it in our agency all the time, like the mental load of the caring that you give to each client, right? It exceeds, that's a different calculation from like the hours that we're contractually providing, right?
Yes.
So how do you scale when you're a single individual who your time is, it's probably the most limiting part of your business, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I keep my one-on-one, my high-level one-on-one clients really on one hand. Um, and I have group offerings, but I'm actually teaching people the modality. So even with my one-on-one clients, I'm teaching them this practice because of that very same thing. I don't have with my family life and also just the way I'm built, I don't have capacity for the helicopter parenting kind of attitude for my clients in the way that some of my mentors can carry me. So I have daily prompts with basically the modality as is based on NLP, scale of consciousness, spiral dynamics, chakra system, traditional Chinese medicine. It's a synthesis of many ancient practices building on, I'm standing on the shoulders of giants here. Thousands of years of wisdom of practitioners go into this. And this is what actually helps the emotional, energetic wealth. So I have a course, I have a group, and then I have just a small section of people that I work intimately in that one-on-one environment. And then I'm also a mum and somebody who just really wants to deeply do my own practices and my own work and not have to rush. So my version of scaling isn't the scaling that a lot of my clients do at that top level, where it's like, let's conquer, let's go to this next, we're at 7 figures. We now want to go to multi 7 figures. We now want to go to 8 figures. I have clients who are at those levels, and it's just not my version of true wealth. I built that organization, and I'm like, I don't really care to be charging, so leading teams. For me, what really motivates me is being connected into the world around you, connected into my culture, discovering all that. I also sit in plant medicine. I microdose cactus. I microdose plant medicine. And so there's like a interconnectedness of all things that is so yummy and delicious. And it actually guides you. It's like the wisdom of the plants doesn't guide you to keep on chasing, building. It's really a pacing thing. And my course has infinite ways that people can buy and deliver and impact that. And that's really how I built the business, is building in a way that it's not reliant on my energy and it's not reliant on that. It's creating self-autonomy and a predictable, proven way to tap into your own emotions, your own intuition, your authority.
That's really exciting. And I applaud you. I share with you, like I share in this idea of it's so important that we have to know what our own success is, right? And it's so easy to be caught up in letting our feeling of did I make it or not make it based on what other people are trying to make or not make for themselves.
Yeah.
So and I didn't prep you for this question, and this is completely turning left field here, but I like to finish off these conversations with like some pop culture. And I've never been to Australia. Mm-hmm. I don't follow Australian cultural references at all. Though what I've been asking guests of over the last many months has been, would you choose? And the answer here is however you want to interpret Barbie Ken, Taylor Travis, or something else from a pop culture. I don't know if those references even make it that far across the
Barbie
world.
Barbie
and Ken, or Taylor and Travis.
Who's Taylor and Travis?
Taylor Swift.
Yes.
And her American football boyfriend, Travis Kelce. I love that you didn't know that. I love it.
I vaguely know it. I feel like Barbie and Ken, because I am a long-term fan of Ryan Gosling, Margot is obviously Australian as well. But Ryan did something weird to his face. So I'm kind of going to still hang on to that notebook, Ryan Gosling.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Bianca, if our listeners, and we'll put this in the show notes as well on our website, but if they want to learn more about your type of your coaching services, your business, your perspective on the world, how do people find you?
Well, you can find the Soulful Scaling Method. It's the blueprint to helping entrepreneurs double their revenue, halve their effort by aligning to their effortless genius, falling in love with what they sell and the way they sell it. So you can go to biancaa.com/method to download your free training and PDF and find me on the other side of that.
That's fantastic. I really appreciate you getting up extra early and making this happen, Bianca. It's been a lot of fun. Actually, we didn't stop. Right after this moment, when I said goodbye to Bianca, we kept talking and it got so good, I had to record again. So this picks up now with our conversation in progress. Hope you enjoyed this last little bit. It got juicy.
There's like a trail of a wake behind them of devastation, of destruction, of disappointment, and I go, it's because of that. It's because I don't have that capacity, that lack of integrity within myself to squash that down and numb that out and go, more money is the thing that's going to make me be happy.
Do you think, and I hit record again, and I wish I hadn't stopped recording because this is amazing. Do you think those, you named some of the more, sort of well-known or well-established, business author, business coach, sales coach folks, that message and methodology of do more, sell more, more.
Yep.
Do you think there's almost like a just, push emotions down to do it anyway? Or do you think it's for people who adopt that and find success in that? Do you think they're aware that they're like swallowing their emotions to implement those methods? Or do you think it's an acceptance of like, well, to be an entrepreneur, I'm going to do these things and it's a choice. And if I don't like it, I should just not be an entrepreneur or be in this kind of work?
It's such a good question. You asked me before about, where do I come up against stuck points? And some of the stuck points has been in with all these different men, mostly, but then also women who are good at emulating that masculine way. And I've wondered, why aren't I as far ahead as they are? Why isn't my version of success, mirroring their external manifestation of that? And what happens is like the peeling back of the curtain still happens. And I am still privy to the things that happen on the other side of that. And yes, what happens is it's like a patriarchal society, a way that modern world tells us that men have got to buckle up. Don't be soft. Don't be a pussy. Women are hysterical. Women are, have this emotional hysteria. And that emotions aren't necessary to creating that result. But what I found in all these ways in which I was gaslighting myself is that they are operating at a level of integrity. They're operating in their own sense of integrity at their own level of awareness, at their own level of consciousness. So all those things feel still right to them. And sometimes it's, leaving a wake of destruction of people who have emulated them and have not received what they paid, or it's like kind of the crushed, broken dreams and all the money that they've thrown good after bad. And I see these people at the front end and they just think, oh, well, you're just a casualty. That's an unintended casualty and whatever. I'm not going to make it mean anything about myself and I'm just going to keep on moving ahead. And yes, that version of numbing oneself and constantly moving ahead because there's there's a soothingness to that anxiety, to the doing. That means I never have to look at the inside. I never have to get in touch with my core emotions. So I'll always chase success externally to me. And it means that peace, prosperity, true lasting wealth, success will always stay out of reach. It will always build a success that's hollow on the inside. And, sometimes people get to the top of that mountain, and I have the privilege of getting to work with them and uncapping and untangling, and in all the ways finding those missing parts of them that are like receptors that allow them to ingest meaning from the world, ingest joy. When you're constantly chasing joy from this frenetic, gotta make more, chasing the hungry ghost, they'll just run, constantly running towards money until they fall into the grave. So when you are operating at a higher level of consciousness, when all these parts are not think that it's wisdom, it's your joy is your desire, is your compass and where to go next, your desire. So it's like they're kind of operating off a whole other playbook that is in alignment with them and their desires, but there's a richness to life that they miss out on. And when they slow down, or when they get to the pinnacle and they go, oh, wow, more money didn't solve this aching wound, this aching, gnawing void I feel within me. Oh, wow. That does one day eventually happen. But the top five regrets of the dying, that's an amazing book by an Australian palliative nurse. And it's like, I wish I didn't work so hard. I wish I spent more time with my friends. I wish that I lived a life that was more in alignment with my true desires and my true nature. So, it's a casualty of modern Western capitalist society.
Right.
And, work hard now so that you can retire and one day be happy. It's like,
hopefully, maybe, if exactly.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, I appreciate that additional conversation, because I think we could do a whole other conversation on gender norms and, how society, honestly, I think has made it really hard for women to be seen not just as successful business leaders, but just appreciating that you could be savvy and successful and it could look so different.
Yeah.
And it's just, that's a whole other episode. We are out of time for this one, but this has been fantastic. And I so appreciate your insights and your perspectives and all of the time you spent with me this morning for you and later in the day for me. So thank you for waking me up. And I hope we stay connected, Bianca.
Awesome. So great. So great spending this time with you. Thanks so much, Jennifer.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to The M Word. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Subscribe and never miss a podcast. Visit arlingtonstrategy.com for more. The M Word is an Arlington Strategy production hosted by Jennifer Mulchandani. Our theme music is by Moochie. Graphic design by Kayla Fagan and Emily Rare. Sound engineering and editing by Ben Mulchandani.